Hello, Maurieo. Civil Engineering, Detailing and Modelling, MG 6005, Session 2, Introduction to TINS. Hello, welcome. Welcome to this video on TINS. So let's get stuck in and go to the Moodle site through here, Civil Engineering, Detailing and Modelling. And we'll go straight to session 2. That's the one that we're looking at here. And as you can see, I've asked you to just to familiarise yourself with the site, log in, familiarise yourself with session 2. Any questions? Write them down, bring them along. And if you have time, watch the session 2 video below, which is this video here, which I'm actually recording now. So yeah, it will be, well, by the time you've seen this, it sort of will be there. So that's all very good. So I'm going to start off by just going straight to the session notes here and opening them up. Just everything I say is in Moodle here. So here we go here. It's a PowerPoint and we just go slideshow from the beginning. So that's our title sheet there, as you've seen that already somewhere. Okay, so let's move on with that. And here's the session plan, or the session being for the week. So we first up have the 2-hour session, where I give the introduction, the session introduction, and Q&A really, if there's any questions arising, hopefully. And then we'll be continuing on with part 1 of the project work. We'll have a similar pattern in the second part of the session later on in the week. However, not so much of the intro from me as more the Q&A. So let's move on here, and the learning outcomes that we're looking for. This is successful completion of this session is a knowledge of TINS and surfaces, and an awareness of Lisp. No, that's a programming language that AutoCAD uses, not a speech impediment that I might have developed. An awareness of subdivision layout, and an up-to-date course diary, of course, and made progress on part 1 of the project. And sort of understood what to do before the next part of the session. So that's sort of the learning outcomes. Pretty straightforward, really. Nothing too complex there at this stage. So TINS, triangulated irregular network is what TINS are. Essentially, they're a surface defined by a series of triangles. So when we collect a series of data points, their various software tins it, which makes it into a triangulated irregular network, and then from that, that defines the surface from which it's able to do various calculations and what have you. So triangulated irregular network, a TIN. Subdivision layout. We're going to have a look at subdivision layout a little bit later on in this thing, which is the layout of the sections and the rules and what have you that are associated with them. Generally, these are defined by the district plan. In this case, I've stipulated the Hamilton City Council plan, although, however, if you wish to work in another area so that you become familiar with your local plan, you're more than welcome to. So that's the layout of the lots, which has a big bearing on obviously where the roads and things go. And Lisp there, which I've already talked to you about a little bit. It's a programming language that it enables us to automate some functions, especially when we're repeating them time after time in AutoCAD. So I'll sort of go into a little bit more detail about that when we get into the Moodle site, and particularly how it relates to this particular topic today. So, is your diary up to date? This is the big question. So, you need to keep a good record of what you've done and evaluations of it. Now, there's many reasons for this. If you're working in a work situation, obviously, specifically if you're working for a consultancy where you're charging out, you need to keep a record of your time. So a diary is sort of part and parcel of recording your time, what you did and why you did it. So this is a very good habit to get into, and something that with practice you can perfect in such a way that it would suit your own needs and meet with your own personal requirements. From a teaching point of view, it's a good way of evaluating what you've done, planning ahead, obviously, and giving some feedback to your tutor as to how things are going for you, as well as an opportunity for your tutor to sort of respond to that feedback and subsequently feedback to yourself. So the course diary is a very important tool that has many multi-purposes. Okay, multitasking tool. Now, before Friday, what I'm asking you to do is to review the Session 2 resources. Just have a look and come up with, if there's any questions. Questions are sort of a good learning tool. Asking questions and discussing things is a very good way of enabling people to retain information as they can focus back to the question and to the discussion. So I'm just going to finish up with this little intro here as to what's new in Moodle. So I'm actually going to go out of here and let's go back to the Moodle site there and just have a look at a couple of the things that have come up. Now, what has happened here is I seem to have somehow, here's the Moodle site here. So that was my little very quick introduction there, and I talked about TINS. So down in the resources here, I've got a little some notes and a video on TINS. This is an area that I made a tin of some time ago. So here you'll see here the data here is all presented in point data. Then the software has what we call tinned it. So it's joined all the points with triangles, and then on those triangles, each one of those triangles becomes a flat plane, obviously in 3 dimensions, and the software is then able to calculate on those planes the positioning of the contours, and then obviously we turn the planes off and we're left with the contours. So this is how we can tin things. Now, when we do tin things, it's the tin that defines the surface, and then the contours are calculated onto the surface. So we can have many surfaces in a job, there. So it's, as I say, it's the tin that defines the surface, not the contours. So the contours are just more of a byproduct of the surface there. So that's the tinning. Now, here I've got estimating volumes, which is a key part of what we do in engineering, particularly in that of finding volumes. And I've got here a number of little videos on just estimating volumes, which you may find quite helpful for the coming exercise coming up, particularly if you have to create your own stockpile to approximate a certain volume. So there's some little hints here as to ways that you can do that in various ways of estimating volumes. The software that we have does very accurate estimating, and so don't worry, we just need to watch the videos there, and then we'll use the software to use TINS to do the volume, but you need to see, well, I want to illustrate to you, first of all, some quick back of the envelope type calculations that you can use to just quickly estimate volume, while at the same time seeing how time saving the use of TINS and surfaces is. So that's some work on estimating volumes there. I've also just put in here a copy of the NZS 404, or a link to it, so that you can have a look at that, which is a bit of a useful resource that I have included in the resources here under session 2. And I've also, you'll notice in my intro, I talked about Lisp. Now that, if we go to the subdivision design here, what I've done is, you'll see down here, I've put a little Lisp routine in there, and I've possibly put some information in the videos as to how to load the Lisp routine and how to use it. Now what this little routine does is, it's one that I've either copied from somewhere or written myself, but what it does is, these are very good for repetitive work that you have to do. I think what this one does is, it takes each lot and enables you to input the area into the middle of the lot using particular text and things like that. So this automates and speeds up, in particular, AutoCAD for when we're drawing plans. So I just thought I'd introduce that little concept to you. It's very, very helpful concept and can be quite useful. So yeah, just a few little handy, well, hopefully handy hints along the way. So a little bit about volumes, a little bit about TINS, and a little bit about Lisp. In this session, it sort of occurs to me that these might be helpful little things that you may not have been totally aware of, that we can bring to your attention for your use throughout the project. So let's just go back to session 2, and as you can see, got the little video, session plan, session notes, a little bit about TINS and volume and what have you, and then that little bit about Lisp, the Lisp routines, which is computer programs. So there's many of them available for download on the internet that do all sorts of things. So if you find that you're doing something that's a bit repetitive, and you want to find a way of relieving the monotony, see if you can find a Lisp routine, or write one yourself. Yeah. Alrighty. So I think I'll call it a day at that, or for this particular introduction. Cheers. See you.